Fishy jerks. Hi, everybody. Hey, Koro, would you prefer if I call you Koro, or do you want me to first name? What do you want?
Either is fine. Generally, if I'm online, it's just Koro.
Okay, we'll leave it with Koro. Koro's nice and easy. We'll leave it at that. Hi, everybody. Look who joined us. This is going to be a good one because honestly, I don't know much about Koro at all. To be honest. I know you've been around probably for maybe a year or so. At least I should say, at least you've been talking in the chats and stuff for roughly a year or so.
I would say, except for maybe Alex, like Fishery, right?
Yeah.
Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. Except for maybe him and a couple other people, I'd say less than a year, to be honest.
Okay. Okay.
Maybe I'm wrong on that, but it was like October or less that I started finding the other channels.
Well, I know you fit in to our community, and I want to say hi to people and do something, but I just wanted to get this out there too because it was on my head or in my mind. You definitely fit in very well with people very quickly because I started seeing your name quite often, and you made comments. I was like, hey, yeah, that's a good point, and you made. So you fit in with the group very quickly, and I appreciate that about you.
Well, thank you.
Okay, real quick. Let me. Hello, everybody. Again, I just want to remind you the whole first part, Koro and I, we're not even going to be looking at the chat at all. We're just going to be having a conversation. The second half, we'll open up to you guys for questions that you guys can ask them that we didn't touch on and stuff. I'd also like to say thank you to Mark Sturlson. He said he can't be here, but he left a $10 super chat before the thing even started. And Mark does that for so many people. So supportive, and thank you, Mark. And I just see Dr. Awesome there. He just came in, and I also noticed that Dr. Anthony is at 795 subscribers, I think. So if you're not subscribed, maybe you guys could do me a favor. You'll like his content. Go over there, subscribe to him, get him to that 800 because he's so close, and he's a great guy. So. Okay, so anyways, I'm closing the stream now, or the chat. I'm not going to see it. Mods, you know what to do if somebody comes in and says hi, if they're asking questions and don't seem to notice that we're not looking at the chat, please just give them a reminder. I absolutely hate for people to feel like they're ignored. Okay, chat is gone. This is full blast. It's all about you now, buddy.
Uh-oh.
Hi. Hi. All right, let's start at the beginning. How many billion years ago? The Earth cooled. Mm-hmm. Then there were dinosaurs. Well, I mean, we're skipping ahead. Dinosaurs. Where do you live?
You skipped the whole. What was it? The Cambrian with the amphibians. I don't know.
It's only a 2-hour stream. I mean, we can't hit everything. Where do you live roughly, Koro?
West side of Portland. I mean, not within Portland, but like west of Portland.
Okay. Pacific Northwest. We got quite a few people up there. Have you met any of the community face to face?
Yeah. So I met Alex at Fishtoberfest and Kenny E, and I passed Skipper in. I did not know who Skipper was, and we did not meet. But he was there.
Yeah.
And I met Bob Steenfot.
Okay.
And then bootscats 2 times over. And I did like a group buy from Dan's Fish to save on shipping. And so I met her. And I met Ian at and he hooked me up with some plants and stuff at the club meeting when I went to Guppus once. And I think that I've met George RB3 at Oktoberfest, but I also didn't know who he was at the time.
Gotcha. And I know Shanna was there, 503 Aquatics. I know.
Oh, yeah, I met Annette, too. She gave me...
and Annette.
I didn't know who she was, but she gave me a bunch of, like, a big grab bag of goodies. And my snails loved it, and my shrimp love it. So.
It's funny. It's funny when you meet them, and then, later on you find out that... I don't know, you start being friends with him and seeing everywhere, and you're like,
Right after that. I met Ian at Fishtoberfest, too, originally. I bought some plants from him, and I bought some plants from Luke Wang,
Okay.
I didn't know who either of them were at the time. But yeah.
Man, so many people. The Pacific Northwest definitely is well represented. I'm surprised that Fishtoberfest is the only show there because there are just so many fish keepers from our community that live in the area. You know, Washington,
Yeah, I mean, you can't
Oregon.
really call it North, but they did just have was it the Fin Dig in Sacramento?
Yes. Yeah.
And so that I heard went really well. And then Seattle has, I don't know that they have like festivals, but they have a lot of stuff going on.
I'm sorry, I'm distracted by the cat shadow back there.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Lucy. Come here.
Oh, it's not a shadow. It's yeah.
No, this is a
It looks
cat.
like a shadow. Still looks like a shadow. Hi,
This is
Lucy.
Lucy.
Oh, kitty, kitty.
She's my sweet bean.
Okay, so you definitely met a lot of cool people up there, and a lot of those people like I can't wait to meet. I have met Annette. I have never met Alex, and Alex is somebody I would definitely like to go hiking and like searching for mushrooms and stuff like that with. He just seems like
That's the goal, yeah, for sure.
he's that kind of guy. I could totally just hang out with him and just talk all day. Have you lived in that area your entire life? Is that where you're born and raised and from?
Yeah, I grew up like 8 miles from where I live right now.
Okay.
But I'm also only 27, and like I could move across the country, and like I don't feel like that's a smart choice, but I could if I had a job lined up or something.
Sure.
Maybe I would do that. But moving away from your entire safety net and all of the resources that you're familiar with and that you know that's a huge commitment to make, and I don't trust this economy enough.
It makes sense. Yeah, I get it. I mean, we did it. We moved from Arizona to New York. Well, I moved a lot, but Arizona to New York. But it was 23 years ago, so things were a little bit different. It was a little bit easier, but it's still difficult.
It's a lot to move away. Like if worst came to worst, I could always rent a room from my dad or my mother-in-law or my grandparents or maybe an aunt or somebody if necessary.
Yeah.
And moving across the country, that's not an option, and you don't know people.
Yeah. What do you do? Yeah, no help. I'll be honest though, there's also a positive side to that if your family is a little intrusive. You know what I mean? There's a positive side to moving across the country from the family that just can't seem to let you live. So you're talking a little bit about family. Do you have any brothers or sisters? You an only child or?
I have a sister. She's 4 years older than me, so she's almost 30 now. But yeah, I have a sister.
You got a picture of her? No, I'm sorry. That was inappropriate. Sorry. Sometimes that comes out. And parents, you said mother-in-law, or I mean, I'm sorry, you said stepmom and dad, right?
Yeah. So both. So I call her my mother-in-law. We're not married yet. I also call her my fiance. I've asked her to marry her. We don't have a ring. It's like
she said yes, though.
Yeah,
she said yes.
Yeah. She just screamed no. She just screamed from the other room. I said no.
And what's her name, if you don't mind? If you don't.
So my partner's name is Jordan. My name is Riva. For those that don't know in chat, occasionally you'll see people say that in chat instead, and they're talking to me. Yeah. But mother-in-law is super supportive and great. My mother is, I don't have a super great relationship with her. We don't talk.
Did you grow up with your dad, or it sounds like
So my parents got divorced when my dad moved out when I was 9, and they got divorced when I was 14. Which is way too long of a process, if you ask me. Like now, as an adult, I'm like, oh, you guys dragged that out for way too long.
Yeah.
But Yeah, so my dad moved out when I was 9. I lived with my mom till I was 24,
Oh, okay.
23, somewhere in there. And then we were all moving out, and my mom is just really financially controlling, for lack of like diving into it too much. She's got a lot of that going on. And so me and my sister both took when the lease was up and we were moving out of the like last place that we lived in, and kind of ran and went separate ways for a little bit. And I moved in with my aunt and cut contact with my mom at that point. Shortly before that, I found out that my mom had been committing like fraud. She'd been stealing from my grandpa. He like sent her checks for her birthday, and then she used the routing number and things to sign up like auto bill pay stuff for things that he would have given her if she had asked. And like that's the worst part.
Yeah.
She just like took advantage of him over and over and over again, and it was like a total of $14,000 or something that she stole from him. And like maybe that's not a lot, maybe that is a lot for him. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me.
It does even $5 that she took, without asking. There's a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Principle.
And yeah, that's that. And then like just everything else. I'm still not in a place where I can be emotionally mature about that situation. And she's not in a place where she can own up to it. And I'm not the person that she needs to apologize to or anything else, right? And my grandpa is getting more and more senile.
You don't have forever
Yeah.
to make amends.
Yeah, and like even so, like that's not going to make it right.
Sure.
But
I get it. I'm my parents are both gone, but I was estranged too. So a lot of people say they're family, forgive them. No.
Yeah,
you decide, and families who you choose.
Well, and like the money is that's what I'm talking about right now. It's never the only thing.
Yeah, I get it.
But
there's never just one thing. It's usually a bunch of stuff, and something finally broke the camel's back, right? Something, it piled up enough.
Yeah.
So I get it. Let's shift gears, because that sounds like but you got a good relationship with your dad.
I have a reasonable relationship with my dad. Yeah. We don't talk about things. And he's the kind of guy that like will bottle things up and then just like randomly will just be a real yelly mess. But it's the kind of thing too where it feels like when he goes off and has shouts at you or whatever for whatever thing, it always feels like he's doing it performatively, not for himself but for his wife, my stepmother, which is fine. If that's what you need to do to stay in her good graces, go ahead, I guess.
You'll be the scapegoat.
It's infrequent, yeah. And that's like outside of those things, I have a pretty good relationship with him. As far as like we don't really get emotional or talk about things, but like yeah, we can do woodworking or like go out to eat. And like we went to like an axe throwing thing for his birthday last year, and that was kind of cool. And we're friendly, but it's definitely not like a close relationship.
Gotcha. Okay.
I would say that I am closer with my mother-in-law and father-in-law.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. I mean, that's important too. I mean, my lights are going off and on back here. That's weird. I just heard the pump too. This is down. This whole side is down. I'm not going to worry about it too much, but actually the tank light is off and the filters are off. You know what? I do hate to say it, but I've got to look at it really quick. I'm sorry to do this to you. I hate to do this, but I will be right back, because that is a little freaky that is shut off.
All right. I'm going to run through chat.
Hear you.
Say hi to people. George Regina Phalanges, Tommy Silver Creek, Craig, Bunny Viper, Jay, the Nano Aquarium guy, Jeff Kane, Cichlids 23. We got Melvin, Richard Reynolds, Amisa, Mike B, Sam Wawe, Daniel Velez. Sorry if I'm missing people. I'm just kind of scrolling, keeping my mouth moving while Rico is away.
Yeah, sorry about this. I'm almost done.
Oh, you're fine. Life happens, and we have to deal with things. Like when the lights start being weird behind you, or when your cat starts eating a houseplant and you hear her throwing up or something. Sometimes you just gotta get up and run.
Well, I was worried if it was just the lights, I would have been okay, but all the filters and stuff were shut off too for some reason. So I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Nothing's hot. Nothing's. I just had to. Well, it's good. It's
Wi-Fi
good.
timers?
No, not on that wall. There is mechanical timers.
Oh, okay.
That whole wall's on one circuit, and it's all mechanical. Those cheap little push button things.
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. So how long have you and I forgot her name?
Jordan.
Your girl. I'm sorry?
Oh, no, I'm not calling you. You're good. Yeah.
How long have you guys been
together? His name is Jordan, and we met in 2016, in November of 2016, and it was like casual dating, but I don't think we've gone a week without seeing each other since. So.
And how long have you lived together?
Since like COVID. I had to move out of my grandparents' place because I still had like a job that was not going to shut down for COVID.
Oh, gotcha.
And then I was living at my dad's for a little bit, and then we moved into this place, and we're looking to move out. We're trying to find a better apartment, a better setup for us.
Gotcha. I bet you in the future, though, that's going to be a very common thing. Like, so how long have you guys been dating? Oh, since COVID. Or how long have you lived together since COVID? It's going to be like AC and BC.
Yeah. No,
before,
like literally
before COVID and after COVID.
We went on. We met on Tinder, and then weirdly, I went out for a coffee date with her like 3 hours later. When I got off work, I was like, "Do you want to get coffee?" And she was like, "Sure." And I never do that. I never meet people that soon. I should have gotten murdered. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Be smart. But things worked out. But we went to this coffee date, and after the coffee date, I rode the light rail downtown and went to a Trump protest. Like that's what time period that was happening. So I don't know. It's just kind of funny to me that like, yeah, but it really is very specific events in time that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. You mentioned briefly
9/11, right? Those are the questions people ask.
Yeah. You mentioned briefly a job that you were doing at the time when you guys met and stuff. And what do you do today?
Now I'm in manufacturing. It's ITAR stuff, so I can't really talk about it too much. But I work with lasers, and we do like semiconductor and fiber lasers. So I spend a lot of time working with like little tiny fiber optic cables, or just fibers, individual fibers, and splicing them together and things like that.
Wow.
It sounds cool.
It's not.
I mean, it's not cool, but it's also just like I'm like putting things into machines and letting it do stuff.
Gotcha.
It's a lot of it is automated, which is good because I don't have. So I do have a couple learning disabilities, and one of them is like my handwriting is super. There's something weird with my nerves. It's called dysgraphia, and my fine motor skills are abysmal, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
But,
So yeah, you need that kind of stuff that's not super fine grained. Can you do stuff like that if you're very careful and take your time? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, like I can write, but if I write the same letter, 100 times in a row, every single one is gonna look off, like wildly different.
Yeah.
It's not consistent at all, and I've got tremors pretty bad. But as far as you get stuff into place, and then you put the fiber clamp down, and it's a lot of that stuff is magnetic. So like you just kind of flip it and it holds itself in place. And then there's I don't know, probably Hall effect sensors or really, really fine stepper motors, I would guess. But it moves them down. I'm working with 80 micron fiber, right? It's 80 microns across in the center. So the machines that put those together, they're moving way smaller amounts than you could ever expect a human to move. I would have to be using like I don't remember what they're called, but you know how an Etch-a-Sketch works on the inside, where it's like the two big scissor
gotcha,
and you're twisting knobs. It would have to be something like that if you wanted to do that by hand. Just not by hand. That's using machinery.
How did you fall into that? How did you get that? Do you have?
I found a job listing on Indeed.
Well, that's friggin' boring. I was hoping to the story.
It was boring, and I did not think I could get it. I was looking at this job, and it was like, we want college this and this. And then there was some other stuff that was like, if you don't have the college stuff, don't hesitate to apply, down towards the very, very bottom of the listing. And I was like, okay, sure. They're 3 miles from where I live.
Nice.
It's full time, and I had been unemployed for like 8 months doing DoorDash and Uber Eats delivery by bike, which is doable. And I had an e-bike, so it's like I had an electric cargo bike at that point in time, so I could carry like pizzas and things like that pretty easily, like upwards of 60 pounds of groceries on that bike without any problems. So. Yeah, and like you can do more than that, but
so like 8 months you did that roughly?
Yeah, and it was not sustainable. Like you could do it, but I don't know. It's hard. I struggled to have the work ethic to actually go out and do it as much as I should have, even though it was like summer and not super rainy all the time for a big chunk of that, because I quit my job in March when my owners started telling the owners of our retail establishment were telling us to like break COVID restrictions in regards to customers and things like that. And I'd had to like call the police on customers more times that year than any time before. Like I never ever had to call the police.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm not gonna do that. And in fact, you're gonna find the keys in the safe tonight.
I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah. If you guys want to open in the morning, you can. Good luck.
The DoorDash stuff, the gig economy is not. It's not great for workers at all. It's. I mean, it's great that there. I do some of that stuff myself. Not anything where I have to leave the house, but some stuff online, and it's great because I'm retired. I have a very limited income, so it's great for somebody like myself.
Or like if you are working 2 part-time jobs, if you work like something in the morning and something in the evening, and you wanted the days that you can't manage to work with those jobs, it can be really hard to juggle schedules like that. Or if you work seasonally, because you can make really good money working seasonal compared to working otherwise like a minimum wage job. Then the gig economy can bridge the gap.
Yeah, it's at least there's something there. At least there's something. It's better than not having anything at all, but it does need to evolve, and I think it's slowly getting there. I really do. I think
it's definitely not a sustainable setup right now, though.
No,
the pay is not.
No, and a lot of times you're making less than minimum wage if you take all the hours that you're putting into it and all the effort. Sure, you get to make 1 hour.
On the e-bike, that wasn't as big of a cost. But I also can't do as long of distance of orders and things like that because I want to stay where I know, and I don't want to go. I don't want to end up somewhere far away, take an order, end up even further away, and then not have enough battery to make it back home and have to pedal a 45-pound bike back. You know.
Actually, you did a great segue there, because I was going to ask you, how long would a battery normally last? I mean, would it last an entire day for you? Would it be a couple of days? How long would those last?
I worked for 4 to 6 hours. But that particular bike, depending upon how I had it set up, would get like 45 to 60 miles per charge. Assuming that I'm not like, if you just throttle it the whole time and everything, and you don't shift gears and take advantage of like mechanical, you're gonna wear your battery out super fast.
Yeah.
But that was
I've never ridden one. I'm curious about them though. I'm curious. We have no infrastructure here for anything like that, and I live so far from anything that it really isn't. It's not going to be anything that I see soon. But I was just always interested in them. So, okay, let's go back through other jobs though. You said you had this one. What others? Is there any like really interesting things you've done, or really boring, or really bad, or really good jobs that you've held?
Yeah, so I used to work at a specialty pet supply, and so I already knew a fair bit about pet nutrition because prior to this, I had been in. I didn't go to school for it or anything, but my partner at that time had been going to school for it, and I'm not nutrition specifically, but for like exotic animal stuff. And so I was doing a lot of reading in regards to that. And then I got a job at this specialty pet supply. And so I learned a lot about like cat nutrition specifically because they had a lack in that department. It's easy to learn about dog nutrition because it's roughly identical to people nutrition when it comes to a lot of stuff. Like they evolved eating our leftovers. End of story.
Yeah.
And that's not the case with cats. But I learned a lot about cat nutrition and small animal nutrition at that job, and I worked there for 7 years overall. I worked there for 3 years at first, and then another 4 to 5 after that, because I moved into another city for a little bit. And I worked at a Safeway there, and it wasn't the worst job I've ever had, but I wouldn't recommend it. I've gotten 5 checks from different class action lawsuits in regards to my time working at Safeway, and I'm like, oh man, somebody out there is really fighting the fight.
What kind of stuff did you do at Safeway? Which different departments did you work in?
The cashier.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I like stocked shelves a little bit from time to time, but they had me in the express lane, so I just stood there all day.
I never was a cashier, but I worked for a grocery chain in Arizona, and I was a greengrocer, but produce manager. I worked in.
Learned the hard part of cashiering is the PLUs.
Yeah.
Produce codes.
Yeah. Yep. Especially when the stickers aren't on there, or you've got to know what all this different stuff is.
Is this again? Is this beef steak or heirloom?
Yeah. I miss it a little bit. It was a fun job. It wasn't, dealing with the customers was okay. But again, living in Arizona, you don't really have a change of season. So back then, we didn't get a lot of stuff from South America. So the change of seasons really saw a change of the different fruits and vegetables that were coming in. So that's the only really way you got to see that change of season. So
you kind of you learn a lot when you're in positions like that. You just learn a lot about, I don't know, it's fun to learn about plants in different cultures too.
It is.
Things that are coming from all the way across the country, and somebody's buying it, and you're like, what do you even use this for? What do you eat this?
And living in Arizona, there's a lot of stuff down there that you don't see in a lot of other places. I think the most important thing I learned was that when you're dealing with habaneros, wash your hands before going to the bathroom as well as after. That was the
That
most
makes sense.
important
Yeah,
thing that
you
I
want to be
learned.
very careful in those situations.
All right. What kind of other stuff so you when the cat or the nutrition place, what kind of stuff did you do there? Was it like a factory where you were making
No,
stuff or
this was just like a specialty pet store. We sold like high end
oh, okay.
foods and raw foods before it was cool. Like a lot of that stuff before Petco and PetSmart started to carry them, we were carrying them. We carried a lot of
Okay.
local products, and then there's a surprising number of pet food companies out there that don't sell to non-independently owned retailers, if that makes sense. There's like I don't remember what the phrase is, but they only sell to independently owned stores because
Gotcha. Boutique or something, right?
yeah, but it's also they can't supply
Oh,
they're a small company and they can't
okay.
give Petco the food that Petco wants.
Yeah. Okay. Small
They
batches
just
and stuff.
won't
Okay.
do that, but they make high quality small batch food. They pay their workers a fair rate. Like if I was gonna pull one out from FROMM, they're maybe not the highest quality nutrition food, but it's good quality food. It's good bang for its buck. They have a wide variety of stuff, and they're one of the only like kibble and canning factories that owns their own facility. They're not contracting out through the same facility that makes Mars Pet Foods or
Yeah.
Purina Pet Foods or things like that. And I don't have a relationship with them. I've never gotten kickbacks from them as a specific company. They're just one of the brands that I remember happens to do that. Avengers
Gotcha.
is another one. They own their own canning facility and they use a lot of human grade meats in their products, which
Gotcha.
maybe matters to you, maybe doesn't.
It does matter to me, and the problem is finding that information when you don't work at a place like that is really finding what's true about.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to find good information. Before I forget, too, do you know Delilah's Critters? She watches Chattanooga Ed a lot. KG
Yeah, the
Tropical.
name sounds familiar.
She did the
but I
same
don't-
type of stuff for a long time. I just remember her doing that. So
Yeah.
it just reminded me. She did exactly the same type of stuff, but she's over here on where is she? I think she's like in North Carolina, or I can't remember. She's on this side of the country though. So
Okay.
it was just something I stuck in my head that that's the same type of stuff she did for a long time.
Deciphering your way through the manufacturing propaganda, right?
It's tough. It is, because you don't know exactly what. Well, first of all, I don't trust any company because, how many, like you said, class action lawsuits, how many are filed every year because companies are lying about stuff.
Are lying about like what's in their baby powder.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So I'm one of those people that reads the ingredient lists on like 90% of what I buy. And that's not normal. But even so, knowing what you're looking at when it comes to pet food and knowing what you're looking at when it comes to like how many different ways they have of labeling sugar in an ingredient list and things like that, that's a lot to put on the consumer.
It is.
And then sometimes they're wrong, or sometimes like if a company doesn't change their formula for longer than 6 months, like say there's a seasonal or for some reason there's a shortage of a certain ingredient and they have to make a substitution, they can put a sticker with the new ingredient list on their package as long as it's less than 6 months in production, and then they can put it on the store shelves and they don't have to change their label and say new formula, even though it's a new formula.
Yeah. And it could be
be
something that you don't want to feed your animals or whatever.
It could be something that gives your animals an allergy, and that's specific to pet food. I don't know what the regulations are with people food, to clarify, but it's probably something similar because it's there, and it kind of makes sense in like how much money is in packaging, right? A lot, especially when you're talking about like how many bags you pre-printed or how many boxes or whatever it is, right? That's a lot of money, and it's not printed where you fill it.
You're gonna get me all riled up. We should. Ooh, We should switch gears, I think, again,
All right.
because
So another thing that I did while I worked at Safeway was I did work trade at a permaculture. Jeez, I don't know what was going on there. Farm. So I did this as well. Still seeing the person who was going into like big cats and wild animal training. So we did a lot of work trade with this permaculture farm because they had a few different exotic animals that needed, like, she could get her hours in, and then also we could do. They had a relationship with the Safeway, ironically, where all the bad produce and things like that was not sold was shipped to this place, and we could take what was not good, or like what was good enough for people or what have you. And at this point in time, we were like, we had guinea pigs, and I had a bunch of fish and things, turtles and whatnot, at where I was living. And we were caring for like a rescue skunk. But this is like a domestic skunk, not like a wild skunk. It was a chocolate coloration. They're bred for their color and things. So like we like rescued this skunk, and it was awful because he would not let you sleep at all. But skunks.
Did he still have his scent glands and stuff?
No,
okay.
That's actually one of the things. They're like bred. Some lines of skunk have the scent glands bred to being like just kind of musky, like a weasel or a ferret.
Okay.
Spray in the same
I did not know that. I didn't know that.
Isn't that wild? I didn't either until all of a sudden we found this listing where somebody was like, I can't care for this skunk anymore because this, and this. And we were like, sure, we have the expertise to do that. And that was a mistake. We cared for him for about 8 months before we found a better home for him. And I believe that he's doing very well. It's been a while since I've checked up with that animal rescue, but they're a place that we worked at also. Like we did volunteering there. I mostly did work, like I did some work with the big cats, but they had like a savanna and a few servals, and one of the servals did not like me. One of the males he like bit the heck out of my arm one time, and I, you just kind of stand there and you're like, what do you do when they're not, like, servals get to like maybe 90 pounds. They're big, but they're like, they eat birds and stuff. They don't eat people, but he wanted to let me know that I was not in there for fun. And I was like, what am I supposed to do in this situation? I like straight looked at the other person. It was like, he wasn't ripping and tearing. He just bit me and held his mouth there. Like, hi, I'm the big man in this room, and you need to know it.
Then what did you do? I mean, what did somebody come and help you, or what?
Yeah, they just came over and kind of like grabbed his neck and his jaw, and he let go. And then I left, and they were like, "We're just not going to have you work in that area anymore." But it wasn't like if it had been one of the cougars or something, where if the cougar can kill you, like straight up. Don't mess around with cougars. If he'd gone for the back of my neck, I would have been a lot more scared. But he just grabbed my arm. Like sometimes a big dog will do that when they're like, stop messing with my toy or don't take my food away. They'll like grab you, but they won't be threatening.
Sure.
But he did puncture. I don't have scars anymore, not really, but he did puncture my arm. I was bleeding afterwards, and I had to get some shots because they were worried about, and take antibiotics because puncture wounds are dangerous.
Yeah.
Mouths are dirty as heck.
Yeah.
But
and that was volunteer. You were volunteering.
I was volunteering there, and I just like was stupid, and I turned my back at the wrong time, and I probably had poor body language and a few other things. I probably did a lot of things ahead of time that made him uncomfortable.
Oh, gotcha.
And like, he is just a fucking animal. Sorry, he's just an animal.
That's right.
He's just a big cat. He doesn't know. And he did not. I didn't feel like I was in danger. To be full, like, yeah, he wanted to let me know that he didn't want me in there anymore. But that's all it was. He was just letting me know. Yeah. And it was kind of scary, and I don't really want to. I don't mess with big animals that anymore. I don't even really like horses. Like, I like horses, they're cool, but a horse could kill you in a second.
Yeah, it could. And their bite hurts. A horse bite will
Like,
that'll
I could
that'll mess
Tommy.
you up. Yeah, that'll mess you up. That'll mess you up. Okay.
Yeah, so I did a lot of volunteer work at those two places, and like took care of cows and llamas and rabbits, and they did a few harvestings, and that was something a learning experience because I'm a kid from the suburbs, and I didn't do 4-H or anything like that.
What do you mean harvesting?
Like killing the animals.
Okay.
And the full shebang.
Yeah.
Which is interesting for sure, and it was definitely a learning experience. And I do still think that at some point I want to have an urban farm, like buy some place that I'm gonna have to make $1 million because I'm gonna be competing with somebody who wants to build like a apartment complex or something on one of the larger plots of land in the middle of the city. But the goal is to have like big aquaponics setup. With catfish, and then in the sump you put you need a sump because you need the additional water volume, because otherwise you'll stress out all your fish. If the water goes up and down when your grow bed fills and drink, you'll stress the heck out of your fish, and they'll taste bad and they'll die. And the additional water volume is just good for the system anyways. So you need a sump system, but in the sump you can put crawfish or freshwater. They call them freshwater prawns. They're actually a macrobrachium species of shrimp. So like ghost shrimp, or Dr. Anthony has sent up to the eaters. He sent up a couple of the Amazonas macrobrachium, I think. If I might be wrong, but
they're not
skull has
super big, right? They're bigger than like a Neo Caridina, but they're not super big, right?
Ghost shrimp are a macrobrachium, and they're not super big. But the freshwater prawns are like, prawns. They're a shrimp. I can't eat them. I'm allergic to shrimp. But
good. Save them for me.
Yeah. So I want to supply shrimp or crawfish or something. I think it would be interesting if I could supply specifically like crawfish and catfish and a few other things too, because there are southern style restaurants up here that, like, there's a couple bars that have catfish sandwiches and things like that, and they're single locally owned businesses. And if I could supply that kind of a thing,
so that's your sort of a pipe dream, is to have that type of
pipe dream.
I have plenty of those.
But yeah, it's one of those where I'd want to have a system like that, but I also fully recognize that it's maybe not the most ecologically friendly way to sustain our diets. I don't know.
But at the same time, it's still
gotta make a buck, right?
Well, but it's still not as bad as what's currently there. It's still a step in the right direction, I believe. It's still local. It's still, you're not taking from our natural resources so much. You're farming it. So
yeah,
at least it's a step in the right direction. You're not going the other way with it. At least I think that's I love the idea of it.
And I sort of have, I'm having, I don't know, aphid or thrips issues right now with it, but I do have an aquaponic system on one of my setups with a sump and things right now, but it's nowhere near big enough to have, like, I've got some pygmy Cory cats in there, but not like channel cats like you'd want to be eaten.
Yeah. Aphids, did you guys, are there ladybugs naturally around you? Because I was surprised. Kelly,
I'm indoors, so I don't know that I can drop. I've been thinking about it, but
would they bug you having them around?
The house plants that I put up in there, and then it's every other plant, like the basil that I had lettuce growing up in there, and then I introduced some houseplants, and something piggybacked in on it. And ever since, because the houseplants are doing fine, is the issue. And I know that whatever pest is on them is still living on the house plants or in the grow bed.
Yeah.
And every time I try to grow another plant, they get to a certain size and then they'll have a takeover. And so I like threw away a geranium last night that was like this big and about to flower. And over the course of like 3 days, I wasn't really paying attention to it. And I looked at it one morning and I was like, that looks weirdly dry. And then I looked at it the evening after and it was covered in webs. And I was like, you got pests on you. I don't know what exactly, but I threw that into the compost out back.
Gotcha. I was surprised. Do you guys have them outdoors there, ladybugs?
Yeah, they exist.
Because Kelly lives in Indiana. Dr. Foreman, she lives in Indiana, and she had to order some in, and she said she hadn't seen any in that area in a long, long time. And we have them everywhere here. I mean, they're all over the place. So I was just surprised. I wondered if they were up there too.
Ladybugs need kind of a lot of water. From what I understand, in the wild, they need pretty good sources of water. So depending upon what is going on as far as their drought watering type stuff, like I live in Oregon, we're always watering and it's kind of stupid, but I don't know. Any water that doesn't go to the plants goes to the storm drains and back out into the river, and I don't have any problems with that really. We've gotten a lot better with bioswales and stormwater remediation. Though there was recently some weird stuff in regards to like parking mandates being mitigated. I don't know. I'm not educated enough on the subject.
Gotcha.
But
gotcha.
Maybe they're not going to have to build them when they start. This is no. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
I guess that makes sense. I mean, because again, I do live right on Lake Ontario, so I mean, it's a very moist environment here.
Yeah.
Let's see. We're burning through time super quick, and there's a whole bunch more I want to get to before we move on to the chat. Let's go to hobbies. What kind of hobbies do you have that are purely for fun, just for fun? Not because I sense that one of your hobbies is learning about different things and
all I do is read.
You can tell.
I like to bike, and I don't really do a lot of recreational biking, but I don't like driving. I do like biking when I'm going from place to place. I don't really love riding the bus, or like public transit isn't bad, but as wonderful as it is to be able to sit there and like read a book or so, hit my cable, to sit and read a book or be on your phone while you chill and someone else takes you where you're going. I would rather just be having a good time with the wind in my face. And that's generally how biking is for me. And I like the fish tanks, and I like to take care of and learn about animals and just kind of spend time with them. I used to have turtles, and I don't think I'm ever going to make the commitment to care for an animal that has like as long of a lifespan as like turtles or exotic birds and things like that have, because it's so heartbreaking when you lose them.
Yeah.
Especially when it's due to your own negligence or something that could have been prevented. Because it's like a 45+ year animal, and like tortoises can live for even longer than that. But like, I don't know. It's just really heartbreaking.
Yeah. Well, even with dogs. I mean, even dogs.
Exactly.
Somebody lost one of their dogs just a couple days ago on the Discord, and it's heartbreaking every single time. As old age, it's just I'm a dog person for sure. We've got 3, and just every single time, it's so difficult. I just wish dogs lived twice as long as they do. But so it's even worse with something that's that long, and you've done something to curtail their lifespan, cut it in half because of, like you said, negligence.
But,
so your hobbies are a lot of nature stuff. Basically, you're into.
Generally,
life.
I like to be outside a lot. If I can, we play a few video games. used to take dance lessons. Like I grew up, I didn't do PE. Like I got some sort of waiver at some point, and I haven't taken a PE class since I was in like 5th or 6th grade. Like at some point, I got to do extra electives and learn more and do different things instead. And I was like, heck yeah, I want to do that. And so I did. We took dance lessons.
What kind of dance lessons?
Ballet, tap, jazz,
Oh.
and then as I got older,
Everything.
I took like contemporary and some hip hop. And I would not say that I'm good at necessarily any of that. Tap is probably my favorite, and I do wish that I had like shoes that fit and were good. Tap shoes are expensive as heck, like way too expensive. I should make some or something instead, but. Yeah.
So do you feel comfortable? Do you feel comfortable getting up in front of people and dancing? You have no problem with it?
Sometimes it depends. Depends on what it is. But yeah, like I have done that for a long time. I did a fair bit of performing arts. I took a lot of tech theater classes when I was at PCC. And I did not ever end up getting a degree. I dropped out after I got used to like taking too many electives because I didn't have to take PE when I was younger. And in college, I wasn't making whatever the satisfactory academic progress was because I wasn't taking the right core classes.
Oh, God.
I was just like learning about what I wanted to learn about. And FAFSA didn't care yet, but my what's it called? Child support. The like legal terms that were in child support was that until it would end if I was at 18 or if I went to college until I was like 22 or something, or 24, and then it would drop off, but only if I was making satisfactory academic progress, which makes sense. But all of a sudden, child support got cut, and my mom was like, "You need to get a job because it's your fault that child support got cut." And I was like, "Okay," which like makes sense. But also, I then had to drop out shortly after that because I was working a job that was supposed to be 40 hours a week and ended up being like 65 hours a week mandatory overtime while I was trying to go to school and trying to take all the core classes so that I could get back to making satisfactory academic progress so I didn't lose my financial aid, right? Because I was on like probation or whatever, and I was like, oh, I can do a term, and then, but that's like...
It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. You still were taking classes, right? You were still learning, you were still doing what the school is meant to do. It's just because it wasn't focused.
Whatever was required to, I wasn't taking like English or like writing or math
and
or whatever.
The child support part of it should have no say. As long as FAFSA, as long as the provider there was accepting of the course that you chose, that should be good enough. I don't know. Why do you like to rile me up? Why do you like to make me do that?
I get it, but I'm kind of over it. That was a long time ago. And while I would like to go back to school, I recognize that I was also kind of I wasn't learning with any goal in mind, and I wasn't making satisfactory academic progress. I was doing what I wanted to and having a grand old time and being a stupid kid.
But you were still learning, right? You were still being educated.
Yeah.
Education doesn't have to be for, monetary gain. And that's, I think, is the biggest problem with... Anyways, okay.
Yeah. But I did not use any of that as far as like career stuff goes. And I wasn't... I took a lot of like technical theater and some theater, and there was a lot of ballroom that I took at PCC. Ballroom is super interesting, and there's a ton that you can learn there. And so I took like 4 terms of that because it was the same teacher every time, and enough people were retaking the class that he had it act as like a progression thing, and we weren't just learning the same thing every term. So that was super cool. But that doesn't look super great on your academic record to take the same class and get an A 4 times in a row.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, so like had a grand old time at PCC. Learned a lot there. I took some costume design courses there, and so I want to get back into constructive sewing, right? And so we learned a lot about costume design and a lot about how to like sew different parts of the set, like how to make drapes and things look certain ways. And that was very interesting. So I have a broken sewing machine at the table behind me over there. That the thread tension is just, it just changes on you, even when you follow directions. So that'll be a while.
So you need a whole new machine, or is it something that could be fixed with the right parts, or
probably a combination thereof.
Okay.
Something I haven't spent enough time on fixing to know for sure yet.
Okay, gotcha. I was just curious. We've got a couple of sewing machines. I have no idea how to do any of it, but my daughter's very creative and really, really into that stuff. She makes all kinds of, just a ton of different things. Just a ton. Okay, we're actually right about the hour mark.
Okay.
But there's so much. I feel like we didn't even dig into a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about.
Do you have any specific questions?
Probably. Don't know what they are.
Okay.
But they're probably there. What about you? Was there anything that we didn't talk about that you think is important? That was something life changing, or I mean, did anything happen to you that changed your life for the good or the bad that you didn't talk about? Is there anything like that?
I mean, I don't know, man. I've had like there's sure a number of life changing events.
It's an open question. What if you think there's something there? That's fine. If you don't feel comfortable with any of it, or there's just really nothing you want to talk about, that's fine too.
Yeah, there's
right?
There's a few things that jump to mind, but it's all silly stuff like, oh, this time that I got hit by a car, or like that time that I don't know, like I was in a car accident when I was young. I have like sciatica from it, and it can be that's another reason I like to ride a bike, is because then I'm not sitting.
Gotcha.
And that just, your spine's better aligned and things like that. And it just is a lot. It seems to help a lot.
So you were in a car accident as a young kid, but then you also got hit by a car later, or?
Oh yeah, I was hit by a car. I've been hit by a car a few different times. I ride a bike. People not see
well,
you.
Yeah.
The most recent accident I was in, I hit the car. It was not my fault. I was in the bicycle/bus lane, and he pulled right in front of me, and I went fully into the bed of his truck. But I hit him.
Yeah, but yeah.
So like I don't know. That was.
Did you do
before Fishtoberfest, and then
did you do any real damage to yourself? Or did you get hurt that bad?
Yeah,
really?
My bike was trashed. There's like a few things wrong with it. I had to replace like the brakes and it took me months to figure out what was wrong with the cables. I spent like $240 on cables that are proprietary and do not need to be that expensive. You can calm down, but yeah, that was pretty crazy, and I didn't like break a rib or anything like that, but I was really bruised up. And then shortly after that, I was skateboarding to work because I choose not to own a car, right? My partner owns a car, and that's our single vehicle, but I'm not gonna take on that kind of especially when I work 3 miles away.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna own a car for that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I get you.
So I was
that makes
skateboarding
sense.
to work, and I ate it really bad because I was like foot braking, and I busted my toenail when it caught this like, and then I landed on like a walkway where like they're like over wetland areas. They have these little like wooden walkways, and they put roof shingles on them so that you don't like slip when it's wet. And I don't know if you can see this on camera, but
Oh yeah,
it through like the top 2 layers. It was a roof shingle, and I just did that. And I've got a couple others on my legs, and that was like 5 days after the car accident, and so I was still bruised up from the accident. I like really ate it, and then 2 days after that was Fishtoberfest. So
you were limping around at the
I was not feeling super great. My toenail was fully broken off and black. Yeah, I don't know. It's
okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and open it up. Let me get this stuff open here and open up to the chat. Yeah, I feel like there was a bunch that we didn't talk about that, and I do try to do a second part of this. Like we'll have you come back in the future, but I'm still actually you might be this might be the 100th focus on.
I don't know.
You know what? I got to look now because it might be the 100th episode of the Focus On. So hold on real quick here. Oh, don't you start. Okay. All right.
And Sam, I actually, if you believe it or not, I got a 100 on my driver's license test. So if you stop spreading these lies about my DUI.
90, you're number 99.
99. Who's going to be 100? Who's coming?
I don't know, but maybe Mark Sturlson. Maybe. I haven't set the schedule for Tuesday, but it might be Mark Sturlson. So I got to talk to Mark and see if he wants to do that, if he can do that. We set up a time, but then I had to, just like you, I had to reschedule. And okay, so I'm going to start. So I'll feed you some questions, and the very first one is from Huawei, who you guys seem to be pretty good friends, and he wants to know, he wants to ask about your DUI, the real reason why he doesn't drive a car anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't have a DUI. But Sam is just a big goofball, always.
Okay. If you guys do have questions, now's the time, and please do the @RicoStan for me too, because that pops out and I can see it. So let's see. Actually, I don't have any questions yet. So I'll do the Myrtle question. So one thing I really, really like about the show is that I've always felt like it's not my show, that it belongs to the community, even though I'm the one who, well, let's face it, I benefit from this because I get views and I get super chats and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely benefit from it. And I also benefit because I get to learn more about the community. But I always feel like this belongs to the community. And there's a lot of people who have asked questions since the very first episode. And Myrtle is one of those people. So for 99 streams, he's asked the question, what would you change about me? And what would I change about you? Which is a great question. I absolutely love it. And I have one this time. I would change the fact you were talking about the tremors and everything that you have. I would take that away from you. And so that going forward, you wouldn't have to deal with that and you would have your fine motor control back and everything. That's what I would change about you, because I feel like having it. And again, this is a great thing too, because Mitch, Scruffy City, made a point to me, because I always said I would never take away that kind of thing because that's what made you who you are. But he said, no, that's not how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it like, yes, you already are who you are today, but going forward, you don't have to deal with that. So it's already changed your life, but going forward, you want to have it. So there we go. We got some questions coming in too. So your part of it is, what would you change about me?
If I could change anything about you, I would make it so that you start de-aging. Like you'd, from this point onward, you would age backwards, and any damage that has been done to your body in the past would slowly revert itself, including like the damage of aging.
Nice. Benjamin
But
Button.
you'd have to like pick 3 people that you could keep with you, because I'm not going to subject you to the torture of living a super long life without your loved ones. So
I like it. That's a great answer. I absolutely love that one. That is
that was the
that would
big
be
secret
amazing.
I was keeping, Trash Cat.
That's a great answer. I absolutely love that one. Okay, I'm gonna scroll down, and that would be amazing because getting old sucks. I don't care what anybody says. Big Cat, what's up? Do you believe in aliens?
Are you familiar with the Fermi paradox?
I've heard it, and I don't know what it is.
Okay, the Fermi paradox is roughly we got like a million, billion, gazillion stars out there, and there's like an infinite number of stars, and on those, an infinite number of those, like a smaller infinite number, but still an infinite number of habitable planets exist on solar systems around those stars. It's silly to believe that there aren't aliens. Now, the real question is, where are they? There are aliens. They exist out there in the galaxy, out there in the universe. Is faster than light travel impossible and we'll never ever see them? Maybe. Are they hiding from us? Is it, do societies get to a certain point and they just self-destruct? Do societies get to a certain point and they decide that like the sky is too big and scary, and that like the concept of infinity is too much, and they enclose themselves in a sphere of like self-protection, and we don't have to think about how scary the big outside world is? Who knows? You know?
Yeah. The Foundation series, have you read those?
Not familiar with that.
Oh, Isaac Asimov, the Foundation series.
Yeah.
He touches on a lot of that stuff in there too, about, it's just over millennia and what civilizations do. So I'm with you though. I agree. The possibility of it it's too great. There's just got to be. Have they visited us? I have no idea,
Maybe.
but I believe they have.
I'm not about to say that every person who thinks that aliens exist is a nut job, but at the same time, I don't know. My grandpa fully believes in, like, not that he saw Bigfoot, but that he was in the nearby presence of Bigfoot, and that he saw a situation that was not. My grandpa was in Kalmiopsis Wilderness area, and they were like hunting elk, and at some window licker says they think I'm a flat earther. No, I'm not a flat earther.
He said that too, but I think he asked me if I was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, but my grandpa came across a clearing where there was like for a couple of miles there was no birds and animals. They were in this canyon, and they like were on their way out of it. And there's no birds or squirrels or bugs or anything for some reason, which is super weird. All they smelled was like similar to skunk. And then they came across this clearing where there was a mama bear that was mauled to death, but not by bear claws. Like that looked like rended, like the bear was rended limb from limb in this clearing, and the 2 cubs. And adult bear, like male bears, will kill bear cubs and then mate with the mother, because the mother will immediately go back into heat. But they won't kill the mother, because what they want is to have sex. They probably don't want a cub, but you know what I mean. That's something that bears do. They don't kill the mother. And so my grandpa came across that situation and saw like Bigfoot tracks and stuff, and they got the heck out of there. As like they were already on their way out of there, because they were like, there's no animals here and it's scary. And then they saw that and were much more scared. And my grandpa does not tell this story unless you get him like really drunk or something, and then all of a sudden he'll start to tell those stories, or like the scary Vietnam stories about how his friend died next to him and stuff. So that's where I put it, is it's in the same level of trauma for him as Vietnam. And like, I don't know, maybe he's just a crazy Vietnam vet who thinks he saw more stuff than he did in the woods one time.
Possibilities, I believe in possibilities, unless it's something that's been proven that, then I believe in the possibilities. So
Exactly.
Carlos Diaz, what's up, Carlos? He wants to know what is the one lesson in fish keeping that you wish you didn't have to learn?
Heater failures, man.
Good one. Yep. But what did you do? So it failed on you, and what did you do differently after that? Or did you do something different?
I don't use heaters now. Right now I have a oil-filled heater underneath of this 20 long next to me. So like a radiator heater, not a
yeah.
I'm not using, and so I can control that separately. It wafts heat upwards. It does not put any electricity. It will not, or it shouldn't overheat the tank. And it has its own thermostat outside of that, and I can like verify that with other temperature thermometers and things.
So you had one that stayed on or something, or
yeah, that's how my turtles and Oscar and like 7-year-old common pleco that was like it was like huge, man, bigger than a subway foot long for sure.
It happened to me too. Right after I came back to the hobby, like the first week after I actually had fish in my first tank from coming back to the hobby, the heater failed up, so it cooked all the fish. Shrimp survived, and it didn't cook all the fish. It cooked most of the guppies. It was just guppies and cherry shrimp. And
so, that's what I had, like a big system in a DIY greenhouse type setup that we'd built, and it was all interconnected with a centralized sump. And the turtles and things were in their own pond, and that's where the heater was because that was the largest volume of water, and it was running through a big, like a pool sand filter, but we didn't have sand in it. We'd filled it with K1 media, like the aquaponics stuff, or you know what I mean, K1, like the Zis. They have those little bubblers and things.
Yeah.
And then it fed into all of the guppy tanks where I was learning how to breed guppies, and the whole system went out at once. And it was the middle of winter, and I think that's what happened is the thermostat was reading the cold air temperature, and it just cooked. It smelled like turtle soup, man. It was awful.
I after that, now mine's different because mine are just tanks, but I started using Inkbirds, and now I have the Inkbird controllers on all of the tanks because my room does get very cold. We keep the house cold in the winter, so this room will get down to the 60s, 62 degrees in the wintertime. So I definitely use the Inkbirds. So that's a good one. Steven wants to know if you guys met at Fishtoberfest and he just forgot.
It's possible, but I wouldn't have known who you were. And also, I only came on the third day when Alex was speaking. I didn't go all 3 days of Fishtoberfest last year.
When did you do what day did you do the wrap, Steven? Because he did do the wrap at Fishtoberfest.
I think that was the second day.
I can't remember. I just remember being able to watch it.
Yeah, it's still up on YouTube if you want it.
Yeah. You can definitely see it out there. Mountain Greenery wants to know if you could live in any of your aquariums, which would it be and why? So you're a denizen of that aquarium. You can, you live in there as maybe a shrunk down human, or you could be an Oscar. Which aquarium would you live in and why?
My aquaponics system.
That's what I was going to say. Doesn't have to be just an aquarium. It can be any of your environments. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I don't have any other. I mean, I guess it's technically a paludarium, but there's no above ground denizens right now. But the aquaponics tank has a larger volume of water in it, and even though it's got lower surface area, I just put some cool shelves with moss on them on the sides, and there's a whole bunch of hornwort in there, and none of the fish in it are bullies. In this tank, there's a Florida flagfish, and he's kind of an asshole. And as this tank is probably prettier, it's got a lot more plants in it, and they're growing better. But my Corydoras are having little bites out of their dorsal fin and their tail fin, and Corys don't bite each other. And the Danios are not large enough to make that big of a bite. So I'm assuming that it's the flagfish because they're known to be kind of ornery.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck you, dude. I want to get him a couple lady friends, and maybe he'll start focusing on them instead. And then I'll just put 3 ornery fish in that tank, and it'll be fine. It'll be better, totally.
Next up, we have Andy Carson, which I don't think I've met Andy before. Hi, Andy. Thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate it.
Andy's familiar in chats.
Last couple of weeks, I've really been out of the loop, so I just haven't seen Andy around, or just maybe not here. That's all. I haven't been going into too many streams the last couple of weeks. But anyways, Andy would like to know how did you get into aquariums initially? How did you get into the hobby initially?
We had a pond out front when I was a little kid. And then at one point I had like a hermit crab, and the hermit crab did not do well because I was a child. We had like mice and things before that when I was a little kid, and we had a cat for a long time. I have had cats basically my whole life. We didn't have cats while I was in high school. After some point, my mom took all the cats out of the house and was like, no more cats. And then when I was 21, I saw a listing on Craigslist where somebody was like, my daughter is bursting out in hives and we need to get rid of these 2 kittens ASAP. And we drove down there within 20 minutes and picked up these kittens. And this little girl was in long sleeves with oven mitts duct taped to her sleeves, and she was petting the cats. She was like, I was like, this poor
That's
girl.
Horrible. That's horrible.
Yeah, I was like, I stole this little girl's dream. But you could just tell she was all burst up in hives, and they were had a open thing of Benadryl on the table when I showed up and everything, and I was like, oh man, this kid is with it for sure. They're having a day.
That's how we got one of our dogs too. Same type of thing. We went down there, and the mom said the daughter just refused to take care of the dog, but she was heartbroken when we took that little. She was only 6 months old. It was a little Jack Russell, and she lived with us till she was 15 when she passed. But that little girl, I think about her once in a while when I think about Princess. Same thing. She was just heartbroken. She did not want to get rid of this. So, but you had a lot of animals when you were a kid, and so it just...
Yeah, and so then at some point, my sister got a betta, and I was jealous at the store, and my mom was like, fine, you can have this bowl, because it was $5, and go ask the lady what kind of fish you can keep in this bowl. And I remember this lady's now the manager at that Petco. So props to her. She's the manager, and she tries really hard to keep a good handle on the fish section at that particular Petco. But I remember I walked up to her with this bowl, and I was like, can I have a goldfish? What kind of fish can I put in this bowl? Because I was going to put a feeder goldfish in it or something like an idiot. And I probably could have gotten away with a rosy red minnow. It would have been cruel, but it wouldn't have died right away. But it was a half-gallon bowl, and the lady was like, you can't put a fish in that. And she sold me a mystery snail, which was probably cruel to the mystery snail, but that mystery snail lived for 7 years.
Nice.
What?
Nice.
Yeah, last time we were at that Petco, she took us in the back and she showed us she had rescued somebody had come in with full-grown Oscars that needed rehomed, and she had these Oscars that were smart. They were really smart. I mean, Oscars are smart. They're derpy, but
yeah. Okay. Next up is Amisa. Hi. Since you don't drive, do you listen to music on the road? That's a two-parter. So that part first. You do listen to music.
Okay. I wear actually not noise canceling, but I wear a set of noise isolating headphones that are it's for 27 decibels or something like that, for a work environment.
Gotcha.
And whether they're on or off, it helps reduce wind noise a lot, and then I can actually hear when the car's coming up behind me. I also have a mirror and keep my head on a swivel.
Yeah,
that's one thing. When you're on a bike, you have blind spots, but you also you don't have a column or anything like that in
Plus, you've been hit so many times, to keep your
you keep your head on a swivel. That's what you do.
Second part of that was what's your favorite album or soundtrack to Bike 2?
Recently I've just been letting Spotify do its thing, and I have a couple albums or soundtracks that are set up from because I'm going to a music festival in October, I think it is. But for like a year and a half, I was only the first soundtrack that I like, the first album that I would listen to every morning when I started my commute to work was because I had an 8-mile commute, so I could listen to that full album. Was Renegades of Funk by Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that album that I didn't know at the time is that every single one of those songs is a cover song.
Really?
None of them are Rage Against the Machine original songs. They're all covers of different bands. So like Renegades of Funk, that song is actually by Africa Bombata. And it like has this super cool flute solo in it and stuff. If you listen to the original. So that's, I don't know.
That's cool. And I like Rage Against the Machine. I don't listen to stuff like that as much these days. More, you get old. It happens.
It's been a few months since there was a while there where that was like, if I need to keep a pace and I like Rage Against the Machine or some of those bands like that.
Is that your favorite genre of music as well? Or do you really not have one? Or
I bounce around a lot. I listen to a lot of like if you want to listen to a fun Russian like club song, listen to it's called Bochka.
Russian club song.
Yeah, like dance music.
Bochka. Yeah, that's not my. That's not me.
I'm gonna type that in the chat.
Okay. We will check it out.
To listen to some music that's like it's just like turns you into a little monkey for a bit. There you go.
I will definitely have to look it up.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is Huawei he says, tell Koro that you can move in with him. We just have to Rochambeau you every night to see who gets to be the small spoon.
I'll keep that in mind if I need to go across the country, right?
Nano Aquarium guy, what's up, Jay? What are your favorite genre of movies, books, and TV?
For the last few years, I've pretty much exclusively, if I'm not reading in an educational manner, I'm reading a genre called lit RPG or game lit, which is like, it's like Dungeons and Dragons in a book where it's like if everything was homebrewed and broken in your advantage, right? Progression fantasy, like purely escapism. I don't like to watch, like I watched a lot of Game of Thrones. It's not my jam. It's good. It's very well done. Props to the people involved. However, I want to watch happy stories where the people that I like live.
Yeah. George, I think, was the first guy that I read that really just enjoyed killing people off. I mean, we've had protagonists die, obviously, but to kill off like everybody the way he did is just it was heartbreaking. You started liking one of the characters because your last character that you liked had died, and then that person died. They just all die. Everybody dies. So lit RPG for reading, TV and movies. What kind of stuff do you get into the most there?
If I'm not watching YouTube or we're not watching something that like my partner picks, she's into a lot of horror, which is fine. Is not necessarily my jam. Sometimes I have to leave the room.
Yep. Not for me either.
Like it can be a rubber pencil, man. Like it's still like you can see it be rubbery and it still just messes with my head. But when they like. I like to watch a lot of goofy action movies, or like I used to really love those. So like MGM Grand, obviously, all the golden age of musicals and on the limelight and everything that's its own thing entirely, and definitely a love for that there, like Singing in the Rain and that whole time period. But also, there's something about the like the old Spartacus or the Robe or those just old Greek and Roman films where it was all done on an interesting choice of budget, and you'll see people running around in Nike shoes, and then you'll see other people in like the most authentic costume you've ever seen, and it's
Yeah.
that there's something about that that's really interesting to me. Lee gave me a recommendation like a month or two ago, and we watched this movie called Robo Jocks, and it was hilarious.
Robo what?
Robo Jocks.
Robo Jocks.
Yeah. And it's like a sci-fi dystopian. It's one of those movies, one of many, where they're like, war got too crazy, and all the governments signed a treaty that they would instead fight via proxy over territories. And they'd send two, and in this case, it's like mechas, and they're like mechas are battling each other. And the Russian mecha fighter guy is not honorable and is like killing, like takes out the mecha, and the other person surrenders, and he's like, you know what I have? A big mecha boot. And that movie was it aged surprisingly well.
Yeah, 1990. 1989. Sorry to interrupt you. 1989 it came out.
Yeah.
I will have to. I never heard of it. I will have to look that up and see.
Yeah, I was honestly impressed. And I am a sucker for stop motion. That's a big reason the Greek movies from back then.
Gotcha.
A lot of the like Clash of the Titans or what's the one?
Sinbad.
The Argonauts, man.
Jason Argonaut. Yeah.
Oh, the skeletons are so good.
The Sinbad movies, they did the same thing. Yeah. What was his name?
Ask Lady Rorschach. She knows.
Yeah.
She's really into that stuff. But yeah, that's my movie stuff. We don't have regular TV, so I just watch mostly YouTube and things. I don't think there's any series that we're like, yeah, we own the streaming services, but we don't have a cable or like we don't watch TV.
We have all the streaming, pretty much all the streaming services, which is just as expensive as cable used to be. And there's a ton of stuff I absolutely love. Just so many. Letterkenny, the South Parks and lowbrow comedy. That's where I live. I absolutely love the really stupid stuff. Really stupid. Okay. Huawei said he would make me stay the same age forever and ever. Well, I would like to be younger though, because this is not a good age.
Mine has an end point. Eventually you get too young and you have to go into an old folks home or something anyways, because you're a baby now.
Yeah.
You start to be like a toddler, and you are trapped with the mind of an adult with double the age. Mine is a curse, my dude.
Yeah.
It's good for a while, but then the last bit is going to be really rough. Sorry.
Yeah, it is. Whip's World, what's up, Whip? So, and this is his question, and some of those other questions too, I didn't mention them, but a lot of those questions are, I've been calling them traditional questions because they've been asked in just about every stream. And again, I absolutely love that. But this is one that Whip does. And so you have generational wealth. Money's no longer an issue. You have all the money. That money's nothing. You don't even think about it. You can do anything you want. What are you doing and where are you doing it at?
We're going to go, I'm going to complete a world record. I'm going to make it into the Guinness Book of World Records. And the goal is to somehow make it around the world in I'm not going to be the fastest at anything. So I have to be the first at something. So we have to find a way for me to make it around the world at the first of something. So my idea has always been they make skin on frame kayaks that are folding, and they have a trimaran. So you've got like two outriggers on either side, and you can set up a sail and things, and you can sail them reasonable distances from the coastline and could reasonably make it around the world and also by over every continent, right? Because you could fold it up into a couple of duffel bags and put that on a trailer on a bike, and you could also bring the bike with you on said kayak.
Okay.
I'm afraid of drowning. I'm not a bad swimmer, but I'm not a particularly strong swimmer. And when the fear of drowning thing kicks in, suddenly I forget everything that I know about how to swim, and I'm panicking. In addition, swimming or sailing not far from the coastline is like not super dangerous, but depending upon where you're at, it's not legal. Like you can make it from Alaska to Russia safely with a kayak. You can't make it safely the rest of the way to the next place it's legal to land your boat. You know, like Russia's not going to be okay with you just camping out on their coastline. Unfortunately.
Yeah, you definitely have to get the permits. But I know somebody like Freya Hoffmeyer, who's sort of a personal hero. She's circumnavigated a lot of different places, and I believe she was able to go down the coast. I maybe I'm thinking of somebody else. I probably get, because I've read a ton of books about people doing that. Circumnavigating Australia or up through the inside passage.
Speaking of circumnavigating Australia, there's a guy there's radio. If you wanna traumatize yourself and listen to a person die, there is there is recording of a man who went to circumnavigate Australia on a sea kayak and went down in a storm and never came back up. And it's awful because his wife is on the other end and you hear both sides of it, and that sucks. And that's another reason that I'm like,
I think his name is.
If I had all the money in the world, I would love to do this, but would I actually do it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Kayaking was my thing for a long time. I mean, that's before. I mean, I was doing hundreds of miles in my kayak just here in the bays and the lakes and stuff. Every summer I do 1,000 miles of paddling just in the area. Absolutely love it. And if you've never ever been in a small boat like a kayak or a canoe or something like that in the middle of water with no land around you, you can't see land anywhere. It's something everybody should experience. It's just an amazing feeling. It's not the same when you're just out on a speedboat or something, when you're in that little boat that's just man powered and there's no land. It's amazing. That's something that's life changing. It really is.
I believe that.
Okay, we've got about a half an hour, but
all right.
Lots of questions here, so this is good. Mikey B, what's up, Mikey? If you could have invented something that already exists, what would it be? What would you have liked to have been the inventor of? It's a great question.
Yeah, that's a crazy question.
It's a great question. I like it.
Let's in reference to the hobby, let's just say a protein skipper. I think that'd be pretty crazy.
It could be anything though. Let's open it up.
But I think that would be a pretty crazy thing. They're used not just in the hobby, but the foam fractionation is what we use for a lot of waste management with stormwater and with sewage and everything like that too. I don't know. I think that'd be pretty crazy if you had invented something that was used because how we manage our water and how we clean it before we dump it back into the river is everything.
Yeah.
It's
a great answer. Mine would have been something like toilet paper or something like that. Toilet paper would be a really good answer too. You got a better one, I think. I think yours is more. For sure. Let's see. Nano. Oh yeah. RIVA. That's correct.
I replied to that one.
Yeah. So. Okay. Regina. Hi, Regina. It's been a while. Which is the biggest species of fish you have kept? That's a two-parter. What's the first part there? So just what's the biggest fish that you've kept?
Either the Oscar or the common pleco. That common pleco was huge. I had to rescue. I picked him up on Craigslist from somebody who had too big of a fish for their tank and was like, this fish needs to go live in a pond or something. And I was like, that fish is going to die in an unheated pond. It might be okay if you've got a lot of mud down there or something, but wintertime is going to come and that fish is going to die. Lo and behold, wintertime came and that fish died, but for a different reason. But yeah, probably the common pleco or the Oscars from that time period. You can get 55-gallon tanks for free if you pick up the Oscar that somebody is getting rid of on Craigslist all day long. Sometimes.
And what's your favorite fish that you keep now?
My favorite fish all in is probably those new El Tigre endlers. But if I had a favorite fish, or I have a pair of endler or a line of endlers that I got from the like the local swap. That is, they're a wild type, and they were brought back. Am I back?
Yeah,
Right.
that was quick. It
They were
wasn't. It wasn't long.
brought back by Philip Blazin, I think, which is he's got a French name, but I think he's from Norway, if I remember correctly. And then they were bred in the Czech Republic for a long time. And the guy who I got them from imported them directly from the Czech Republic. And so that's kind of like cool that I know that they're a wild line and they're pure Endler. And the spot that they were collected from, there was crazy flooding not a couple years after that. And it's highly likely that they're not there, or they were interbred with another species. But one of the lakes that flooded over with the like rainfall and stuff was heavily polluted or something. I don't remember the specifics of it, but the guy who sold them to me was like, by the way, these probably don't exist in the wild anymore. And I was like, oh, yeah. I didn't know that. And I've learned a bit more about the N type and N plus Endler's sense, the wild types, and that's kind of interesting. But I really like zebra danios because of all their advances in medical history and things like that. There's like 4 different medications that I take that have, and some of the medications that my grandma attributes beating cancer to and things like that have direct links to research that was done with zebra danios. And those poor fishes' sacrifice make my life better every day. So,
and we talked about Alex, Secret History, Alex Fishery, and he goes in depth on that. He's got quite a few videos that talks about all the different things that they've been helpful with. Yeah.
Too.
Fishion, hello, saying hi. Dapper Dennis, is there someone from history that you'd like to meet? 2 parts to that too. We'll get to one. So, is there somebody from history that you would have liked to have spent some time with?
Either Ben Franklin or Alexander the Great are probably two solid answers there. It also maybe David Eddings. We were talking about him before the stream, but the author that my parents pulled my name from, and then that my username Korodullin is a character in that same series of books, but he died, I don't know. I wouldn't have wanted to meet him right before his death anyways, because he was like an old man and he didn't. But that'll be kind of cool to meet the guy that the books came.
Wait, what's wrong with old men?
He's like a 70-year-old man and he was super sick and dying. I didn't want to meet him. I want to meet him when he's in his prime. If I'm if I got the ability to go meet somebody from history, I'm gonna go, wow.
That's why I don't do headphones.
Well, the mic situation here is rough without the headphones.
I really do like David Eddings' writing, though, and I often forget all the different authors that I've read, because I love to read a ton, and most of it is that kind of fantasy and sci-fi stuff, and that is a great series that he did write. The second part of that was, is there a period of time that you would like to go back and visit?
I think it would be interesting to go back to like pioneer times, but I would probably die.
Yeah.
I don't have it. Sorry.
What is that movie? 10,000 Ways to Die in the West.
Yeah, or I mean, even that movie, but even that. It's originally a Mark Twain story, The Connecticut Yankee, right?
Yeah.
In King Arthur's Court.
Yep.
That book is unrealistic, and he would have died a dozen times over. People would have straight killed him.
Yeah, a witch.
Yeah, exactly. He would have been murdered really fast.
Oh, yeah. This one's from Jenna P. Hi, Jenna. If Koro could have any 2 Fish Fam members swap bodies, Freaky Friday style, who would you choose and why?
That's
a fun one too. So they're just changing bodies. I love that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a tough one. We're gonna say June and Adele, because they're on opposite sides of the globe, and they're always they know each other well enough and they stream well enough. or like together, so they would know what they're getting into when it happens, and they would both probably hate me for it, but it would be fun, and then eventually it would end, right? There is an end date on that, Jenna, please.
Yeah, I think so. Freaky Friday style makes me think that, it's a weekend or a week or something,
Oh, didn't they have to undo the curse?
Yeah.
And then
So they would have to go through some, yeah.
I don't remember. I watched that movie, but
There's so many movies like that, where people exchange bodies to learn something about the other.
That's normally how it is. Yeah, you have to learn something.
All right. Next up is Jay, and Jay asks this one too, pretty much every time. Favorite YouTuber outside of the Fish Fam?
Probably the Vlog Brothers, Kate Green and John Green. But my second, my binge content right now is a channel called How Not To, and it's How NOT 2, the number. But it's about like rock climbing gear and arborist gear, and they all sorts of things like that, different knots and ropes, and how they change the strength of ropes. But it's like the hydraulic press channel, so it's about that stuff, and it is more scientific than the hydraulic press channel. But they've got they've got a slack snap machine, and it like pulls on the rope, and then you see where the rope fails at. Is it in the knot? Is what part of your system when you're rock climbing and you're relying on this thing to save you if you slip and fall, what's going to break first, and what forces does it take to break at, and is it super good enough, right? Or
do you like to rock climb? Because I
took a couple classes at like a indoor gym when I was a kid, but like I've done like
so it's more just about the process that they're doing, and about the strength of doing things a certain way, or gotcha.
Yeah,
okay.
It's just interesting, and also like I said, it's like the hydraulic press channel, where it's like satisfying to just watch them break stuff.
Yeah.
So that's fun. You're like, wow, that's a lot more money than I'm ever willing to spend on gear. But I like to know how strong knots are. I have to tie things down on my bikes, right? I have a picture on my Instagram that's like I've got like a big net and then some paracord tying 20 long, and the rack that I bought with it down onto the back of my bike. And if I didn't know what I was doing with those ropes, I would have dropped the tank. It would have been a bad day. And like sailing and things like that. And I learned a lot about knots with theater. Right? Rigging and things with theater.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I just said Peter, not theater.
No, theater, like drop
like Peter who?
Yeah.
Peter. Okay, Nathan's up next. World is ending. It's over with. Rebuilding. What fish would he want to save, and what fish does he wish wasn't in the hobby? So you can only keep one fish in the hobby. That's the first part. Which fish would it be? The zebra Danio?
The scientists are going to save that one. I don't have to worry about it.
But there's only one. There's only one. Everywhere.
Everywhere, man.
Everywhere.
I mean, I guess the zebra Danio is pretty useful. Tilapia is pretty useful. Probably tilapia. Let's be honest. If there's a fish that we could, if we had to, I'm not saying tilapia is the best tasting fish, but if there's a most adaptable fish that we have to learn, like we gotta breed it in brackish water and eat it afterwards or something like that, or we might have to breed it in super polluted water and eat it. That's the fish that we want, is tilapia. I'm sorry, it's maybe like you guys, nobody likes tilapia. I get it.
I don't mind it. It's not the best, but I'll eat it. We get it every once in a while, and just simple stuff, lemon butter and pepper. And
I prefer catfish, and that's a hot take because a lot of people also don't like catfish. But I love catfish. Catfish is delicious.
We get it once in a great while. When I used to fish a lot more, we'd get, because there are a ton of them right here, and every single time my wife would just let it soak in milk for half a day. And then it sort of took that muddy flavor away from it. So I don't mind catfish if it's prepared good. The second part of that was, what fish did you want to kick out of the hobby that you wish nobody had access to?
Probably like the pearl or above the fancy goldfish, scrunched up body goldfish.
Oh, gotcha. Stuff that's been bred to be
Yeah,
the pugs of the
like I don't have any
hobby.
issues with genetic modifications or anything like that. I recognize the intent and value that's involved in that and things like that, but it's also some people are going to take good care of an arowana and some people aren't, and some people are going to take good care, like the dwarf gouramis and betta have issues because they require more space than people give them, and they are inbred to all heck and are prone to like genetic flaws. I'm just watching this flagfish chase around the quarries, man. Such an
Don't get distracted. Don't get distracted. 15 minutes left.
Yeah, so yeah, there's like a lot of fish that maybe people object to, but I don't know. The goldfish one is goldfish in general are just woefully misunderstood and abused in the hobby. And that while there are a lot of people that take really good care of goldfish, I feel like no matter how good care you take of goldfish, if they're bred to the point of being like if their organs are misplaced, you can take really good care of that fish and you are doing the best for that individual's life, but we don't need to breed more of them, in my uneducated, stupid opinion.
I'm with you. You know, guppies that are, you know, the tails are too long, or the gonopodiums, you know,
long,
you know.
Like I didn't realize swordtails were a wild breed. I thought swordtails were like, for lack of a better term, manufactured, like bred to. But there are wild swordtails out there, and I learned that this year. And I've kept guppies and bred live bears for 7 some years, and then got out of the hobby, and then came back into it, and I learned that this year.
I hold on one second. I just got to make a quick note because I got down to your comment about.
The song.
Yeah. So. Okay.
I think the next question is from Rye Guy, and it says, "Do I play any instrument? Not currently, but I used to play trumpet." And I kind of play organ a little bit. We had one in the garage, but I'm not classically trained or anything like that. But the electric organ is a lot of fun to play around with, and I really want to get like some kind of looper tool. Right now, the only instrument I own is we got a harmonica behind me somewhere, and I think I have a really fancy metal kazoo.
We have a ton. In fact, my daughter today just it's her anniversary with her husband, and he still is in the UK. In fact, they just got the letters and stuff that his interview is going to happen any time now, so that he'll be American citizen very soon. But he sent her a guitar and an amp for, I don't know what, I didn't see the guitar, but I don't know what kind, for the anniversary. So she's got acoustic guitar, she's got electric guitar, she's got a violin, she's got ukuleles. I mean, just everything. And she's really good.
That's super cool.
Okay, Nathan, I see your message there, and I will take that under advisement. Harryhausen, Alishan got it with the guy Sinbad and the skeletons and the stop motion stuff. Harryhausen, good job. Alishan knows so much stuff. He's a smart guy.
He is.
I'm not seeing any more. Again, if you guys got any questions, do the @RicoStan. The next one I see is
seeing a lot of jokes.
Nano Aquarium guy. Oh yeah, it's Eric's question. Eric's question is, what's your favorite sandwich?
Pork cubano, probably, but like catfish po' boys are really good too.
Ooh, yeah. What's on that po' boy?
A catfish po' boy. So a po' boy is like a hoagie, right? I don't know what the difference between hoagie and hero and sub and grinder and po' boy, and they're all similar, and it's marketing. Have fun arguing about it. I like sandwiches. Eat it.
Yeah. What would you put on it? What is your favorite stuff to put on your
catfish po' boy? Is like a breaded beer bag catfish fillet, I guess. And you have like tartar and maybe coleslaw, I think, on it.
I haven't tried the coleslaw on it. That would be good.
I
Usually
wouldn't do
tartar
like a sweet
sauce and
coleslaw. I would do more of a vinegary coleslaw.
Mm.
But yeah,
Hi June.
something
Oh,
along
sorry.
there. Yeah,
That
go ahead.
sounds good. I'm all about that. That's sounds great. Only Oscars. Hi June says, did Koro set up his pond?
No, I think I'm gonna hold off this year because we're gonna be moving, and the funds just aren't there, and I could probably make it work, but I also could spend that money in other places and could save it up and build it over the winter and then have it ready for next spring instead of this. Like, I'm gonna put it out in the heat of the summer and hope that the fish acclimate. That seems like a poor choice. So I think I'm gonna hold off. I'm trying to build it slow and spread out the spending a little bit. Plus, I was told no more new tanks in this apartment. We're gonna move.
Who told you that?
My partner.
I figured.
Not the landlord or anything. They didn't care. They're just like, oh, we can charge you more pet rent. Ka-ching. And I don't get it, but I would get a deposit, right? But pet rent bothers me. That's a concept I could get heated about.
And we don't even need to get into landlords. I bet we agree on a lot of that.
Probably, yeah.
Let's see. Everybody's talking about sandwiches now, and I haven't eaten dinner yet. So let's keep the food stuff on the down low. Usually I have dinner. I'm an old man, so I have
Regina
dinner.
Just asked a question regarding food.
I see that. Usually I have dinner about 3 hours ago because I'm an old man. So if I start getting grumpy, that's why. And Regina wants to know then, what's your answer there? Hard or soft taco?
So I think hard tacos are make sense. I generally buy soft tacos. I don't like to hurt the inside of my mouth when I eat things. I have some messed up teeth in the back, and every now and then you'll get like a tortilla chip jammed up in there just right that when you bite down it stabs you somewhere else, and that's not fun. So yeah, soft are good. And then if you're getting street tacos, it's always soft. They don't even offer hard shelled tacos, and those are the best tacos anyways. So
yeah,
but at the same time, those Doritos Locos taco shells are pretty fire.
Those are pretty good. I have no preference. I like tacos.
Yeah, I think yes is the answer there, Ricky. Sorry, but
I'm not picky at all. Rye Guy wants to know, sweet or sour?
Sweet and sour is the best flavor. And umami is a close second. But if I'm gonna drink, probably sour. Honestly, in general, sour is probably a better one. Sweet is good. I have a sweet tooth, but sour is.
Let's see. And again, please do the @Rico stamp for me, because I've skipped over a lot of the conversation you guys, are rightfully having. So if I've missed your question too, we've got about 7 minutes left. So if I missed your question, please just do the @Rico stamp so it pops and I can grab it. Next up is only Oscars with dark chocolate or milk chocolate.
I like dark chocolate, but I think the dark chocolate I like is baby dark chocolate, where it's like milk chocolate plus dark chocolate. I don't like. I can handle bitter things, but I don't go out of my way to eat like the super bitter, darkest 99 cacao, Dutch process, whatever.
Yeah. I have no preference.
So if you want to learn about if you want to learn about cocoa, Google Dutch process, and because that is wild that it took so long for us to figure out the alkaline whatever. Super interesting. I couldn't explain.
I feel like if I search for Dutch process, I'm going to find something I don't want to see. I don't trust you. You've got shifty eyes. Mika, what's the number one place in the world you'd like to visit? And I just happen to see his.
Probably Istanbul. There might be other places that would be cooler, but Istanbul has. It used to be Constantinople, right? Historically speaking, a super interesting place. It has. Either Istanbul or Prague has the oldest running library in existence or something like that. I remember reading something about that when I was much younger. And it's no longer there. The British steal everything cool and take it to their own museums. So any Brits in the chat know that I put them back.
He's watching you.
I want to go to Istanbul, where the biggest cannon that was ever built and will ever be built, because we have no purpose in building a larger cannon than that. The largest cannon that has ever been built was fired at Istanbul, and it was so big that it could only be shot like 7 times a day or something like that, because otherwise it would overheat and crack the barrel. But the British people stole it. But that was in the fall of Constantinople, and then eventually the rise of Istanbul, right? That was one of the guns. The Dardanelles gun was built by a dude who was later killed because of he refused to work for some government, but he was like a really good mathematician and built the biggest all sorts of giant cannons and bombards.
You mentioned the books. Do you have a preference between digital and hard copy?
I like hard copy books. I don't read them anymore. When I went to when I was in school and there was a library on campus everywhere and you could go check out a book and then turn it back in and you just had that constant stream, it was really easy to read a physical book all the time. But now when it's my own property, and if I lose it, I can't just pay a fee. I have to find it or go buy another copy of that book and figure out where I was at in reading it. All of that, and then a few other things. I just don't find myself actually carrying books around and reading them, and it makes me kind of sad because I used to always have a book in my back pocket or in my bag, and I also don't really carry a bag around as much as I used to.
I'm with you 100% because I'm
generally read digitally, but I still read every day. And I have been following some of these, they're called web serials. So they're not written in the same way as novels are. It's like a comic sort of. It's not a web comic, right? There's no visual component, but it's more like a comic or a sitcom or what have you, where it's written with a shorter story arc and every chapter is a cliffhanger because they want you to come back next week. And it's very popcorn, but that's okay.
Do you read them in a specific app, or do you read them on a Kindle type device?
I use Royal Road is the website, but I use a browser so that I can log in on whatever computer, just log in with my Google account and whatnot, and it keeps track of where I'm at in the story, and what books I'm reading and everything. So
I got rid of. I mean, I had a library. I had hundreds and hundreds of books, and I gave them all away, and I do digital now. I got right here. I got my little Kindle Paperwhite, and constantly reading.
Do think someday some form of apocalypse or the banks are going to fail or something, and shit's going to hit the fan real bad. And unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to access all of the digital data that I have saved up. So I do have some books that I rescued from being trashed, that I have the full encyclopedia for the in 1979 Popular Mechanics put out a 30-book encyclopedia set of how to build stuff and how to do the math for figuring out how to level ground before you put in or how to do survey, all the knowledge that is in that is some of the stuff that I don't even know how I would use it. But someday, if I'm out in the middle of the woods and I don't have Wi-Fi, that is where it will be useful when I'm going to level ground or what have you. There's also a bunch of projects and plans in it, but a lot of it is just those the math. It's all the formulas and what you would need and how you apply it. Because sometimes having the formula and knowing okay, so this is the formula and it's called this, doesn't tell you you can use that with this information to figure out what your longitude is, or you can use, all of that is.
You want to get a head start on rebuilding society.
I guess, yeah. If I'm gonna, I got the books there. They were gonna be thrown away when I worked I used to TA at the library in high school, and they were gonna be put in the dumpster. And I was like, "Can I take these home?" And they were like, "You can not put them in the dumpster. I can't tell you. You can take them home."
Yeah. See, same kind of thing. We used to, there's a ton of little libraries around all these little towns around us, and they all do their library sales where you go there and you can buy, a book for 25 cents. I collect field guides the most. All kinds of field guides. I like the Audubon stuff and just any type of field guide. I absolutely love those. But that's all I kept out of all this. Oh, and I have my meteorology books. I have about 250 different meteorology books spanning all the way back into the 30s and 40s. That's it. I get rid of all like the sci-fi books and everything else. We're at time, but real quick, June wants to know if you're going to go to the Findig next year.
Maybe. That's a year away, and I don't know where I'm going to be at, like monetarily and things. I would love to, if funds allow. Sure. But I don't know if I'll even have paid time off for that.
So we did 2 hours. We're at the 2 hour mark. Again, though, is there anything that we didn't touch on that you think is important that people know about you? Or this is also, are you interested in, I am subscribed to you, but I don't know how much you're wanting to do stuff with your channel. Are you more interested in just being, part of the community? Or are you going to do stuff with your channel too? You can do a little self-promotion if you'd like now.
It's kind of a mix of things. I would like to do a little bit more, but a lot of it is just keeping track for myself. I do want to have like some more tanks and things like that, but it's I don't know. So I want to do
Uh-oh. We lost you.
There we go.
Oh, you're back. You're back. Okay. You stopped at I want to do
Yeah, I want to do a stream soon, or like have a conversation with somebody where we talk about a lot of the different ways that, like, just different kinds of filter media, because it's been rehashed a million times, but I have a whole bunch of different kinds of filter media that I could pull out and we can talk about on hand. And people don't they don't seem to they don't pimp out their filters. They let their filter do its thing, or they use the stock sponges and things. And like, stock sponges are great, but the FX6 isn't the only way that you can take care of a fish. And like, I'm really big on the breeder boxes, the hang on back style, because it is a giant filtration capacity for you. You can put an internal pump, like a power head or an internal filter or something in there, and you never have to prime it. You never have to worry about your hang on back filter priming because the motor's inside the tank. And you can use it for plant propagation. You can keep just the filtration in one section. You can do like as many layers of filtration as you want. They're just kick-ass. But they're not filters, and people so I want to do a stream about that sometime soon, but I need to find somebody to do it with because I don't do things well on my own.
Gotcha. Well, if anybody in the chat
send me a DM, I guess.
Yeah. How do people get a hold of you? The easiest way. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you? Just see you in the chat.
A few different ways on. Yeah, you can yell at me in the chat. Say, hey, kid with the head. Like you with the face. But I've got a few different ways to contact me on my fishfam.link. So that exists and has been fixed recently. Thank you to Matt, because you're always on it, and thank you. So if you guys find that, my email should be on there and my Instagram, and you can send me messages through either of those. Yeah.
Okay. And again, was there anything else that we didn't talk about that you wanted to bring up?
Not
I know
off the
that's
top of my
hard,
head.
but okay. I know
don't
that's
know.
hard, but I just like to always offer just in case there's something about a person that I wasn't aware of. And again, a lot of the people that I've had up, you are number 99. I've met in real life and hung out with them and know them. You, I've seen around quite often. I always appreciate your conversation, but I didn't know anything really about you.
No, I greatly attribute the Fish Fam and being able to hang out in chats and like Alex, his whole like I binged his 4 years of content or something, and I attribute my ability to do that while I'm at work to my ability to like keep this full-time job. This is the first 40-hour-a-week full-time job I've had for more than a year. And thank you guys for being there and keeping me entertained. And because if watching machines test parts is boring, and the pay is reasonable, but I probably would have quit by now because I get burnout and I'm stupid and a kid, you know?
Gotcha.
Like I'm not a kid. I'm 27, but
I get it.
Still young.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my oldest son is a few years older than you. So yeah, he's still young. Okay. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us. Again, I don't know who this coming up Tuesday. I'm not sure who our guest is going to be. Nathan will be coming up soon. Mark Strelson's coming up soon. I have a whole list of people still. But if you're interested in being my guest, my email is right at the very top of the screen up there, ricostan.com. Shoot me an email. Just say focus on. That's all you got to do. I'll add you to the list and we'll work out a schedule. I go Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern or Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. And it's usually a 2-hour stream. So if those work for you and you want to come up, there's no requirements. You know, I've had Corey from the Aquarium Co-op on with his 900,000 subscribers. And I've had people with 5 subscribers, and it doesn't matter to me. Anybody who's a part of our community, I want to interview and get to know better. So please, feel free. Okay. And I think that's it. Anything else you want to say before I click the button?
Not really. Love you guys. Thanks for the stream. Thanks for being friendly, great people. I'll see you in chat.
Bye, everybody. I'm clicking buttons.